Leaders ask great questions. Managers give great answers. Now, when you start to understand a distinction between those two statements, you start to understand the real effective leaders and what managers do. Now, there's a role for both. So it's not one's better than the other. It's understanding the role that you're in and asking yourself the question is actually what's the most appropriate response in the situation. So when you manage people, what you're looking to do is ensuring they complete the tasks, they do what they need to be doing, they're effective, they're getting things done. And often when a team member asks a question to a manager, they're looking for an answer. And the manager, rightly in the right circumstances, is there to give the answers. However, leadership is all about growth. It's all about helping an individual grow. It's helping an individual be empowered. It's helping an individual, you believe in them more than they believe in you. And when we start moving them to management to leadership type behaviors, there's a distinction there, especially around how you ask questions or not ask questions. So there are scenarios where sometimes you might be in a position where you're a leader, but you need to manage people. Nothing wrong with that. There's situations where you might be running an organization where you're leading more and you want to empower the team to come up with their own answers. One of the biggest fears for an individual as part of a team and an employee mindset, if you like, is the fear of failure, is the fear of making mistakes. But we all know history is littered with successes as a result of failure. Failures are lessons. Failures are insights. Failures are growth spurts. A failure is an opportunity for you to see what went wrong. You don't learn much through success because when you succeed at something, you just say it went well, you just carry on doing the same thing until bang, you hit something. So how do we learn more? How do we get empowered more? By putting ourselves in constantly uncomfortable situations. And the earlier you do that, the better. And the leader is someone who can accelerate that by asking great questions. And I'm going to give you 10 questions that a leader would ask in any given situation, and potentially if a manager is in that situation, the answer they will give that wouldn't necessarily empower the individual. So here are the questions. Question number 1 is related to understanding what's the purpose of a said task or what's the outcomes you're looking for. So a leader would say, what would success look like in this situation? And what you're doing is you're looking to see what's in the team's minds. You're looking to see what's happening there. A manager may ask, this is what success will look like. This is what we're looking for. Nothing wrong with that because you're setting the agenda. But if you really want to, if you set the overall big hairy ass agenda, and then you ask the question, what does success look like in this situation? You're basically asking the team member, I want to know what you think. I want to know, based on what we're looking for, what does success look like? Question number 2, and this is related to when we're confronted with a situation where we know it might not be a smooth ride. A leader would say, what are the obstacles that's going to be in the way of achieving the success we want? Again, what you're asking the individual is to think, what could be in the way? A manager might say, right, I've been in this situation before, expect this, and this to happen, and this is how we're going to overcome it. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem with that is it's coming from the manager's perspective, from their perspective, as opposed to you asking people, do you know what, trust the process. It's okay if you might not get the solution first time, but I'm not going to tell you, because sometimes it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that if we believe something's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong. So we look for reasons, as opposed to saying, do you know what could be the obstacles? I don't know, not been in the situation. This could happen, yeah, it could, but let's just go for it. Let's take the actions and see what comes up and deal with that as we come along. Number 3, this question is related to getting them laser focused on making sure they do the thing that's the most important. So a question would be, what's the one thing you need to focus on right now? The leader's basically saying to someone else, look, we know what we want to achieve. You know what's out there. What's the thing right now? A manager might say, right, I want you to focus on this. Again, nothing wrong with that, but you're not empowering an individual. With a question, what do you need to focus on? You're basically finding out what's in their head. Now, they might say something that you feel, that's a little bit off kilter, or it's a little bit not on point. So then you can follow that up by a supplement question in that respect. Okay, by focusing on that, do you think we'd achieve what we're going to achieve, etc.? So, the key with the question is to find out what's going on with them, but also maybe just sort of cajole them into really seeing the bigger picture. Number 4, this question is related to getting them to think beyond their perspective. So, question would be this. How would you approach this challenge if you were in my shoes? So you're basically saying, take my experience and use that to say how you'd approach it. Whereas a manager might say, right, I would approach this in this way. This is how I would do it this way. And sometimes the manager falls into the trap of giving the team member the how, where a leader is saying, this is the outcome we want, you work out the how. And then when we get them to work out the how, they're going to grow faster. Next question number 5. What's the one thing you can do differently to improve on the results? So this might be a situation where we're getting some results, but it's not the results that we're looking for overall. So we sort of stop people and say, right, okay, we're getting these results, we want these results, what do we need to improve? So again, you're looking to them to come back with some suggestions. Whereas the manager might say, right, we've been doing this, we're getting these results, right, let's stop people, we're going to start doing this. And again, there's an instruction there, there's an order there, there's a being told, as opposed to, guys, I want to hear what you think. Question number 6. Now this is where we're looking for them to think like a leader. The question is this: who else needs to be involved, informed for us to succeed? So you're saying, look, this is not about one person or one entity going to achieve this success. So we're trying to do this. Who else needs to be involved? Whereas the manager might say, we're going to call this person in. They don't check in with the team and they start bringing people into the team without actually saying, what do you think? Do we need to bring other people into the team? Do we need more resources? You're leaning into the wisdom of the team with that question. Question number 7. Now this lends itself to when we're procrastinating, when we're not moving as fast. And the question is this: what's stopping you taking the next step? Now what you're looking for them to do is you're digging deeper in terms of what they think stopping them. As a manager might say, right, a reason I think you're not taking the next step is because of X, Y, Z. Again, the manager's coming from their frame of reference about what they think. They may be right, but that's not the point. What you're looking to do is digging deep what they might. Now, when you ask that question, what's stopping you taking the next step? They might give you some surface answers. I've been really busy, I haven't got enough time, I've got to do those things. Surface. But when you dig deep and say, what's really stopping you? They might say, I not feel confident about this situation, or I'm scared of making a mistake. You're digging into what's really going on, which then as a leader, you can then start coaching and help them around that. Question number 8, and this is tapping into the celebration of what they've already achieved. What are you already proud of achieving? What's the one thing that you're really proud of achieving so far? Again, you're looking to see what they think, as opposed to you saying, do you know what? You've done really good on this. Again, coming from your perspective as a manager. But the leader will say, actually, I want to know what you think you're proud of. And you're tapping into them being proud and less humble about where they're at. And again, you might have a digger deep because they might not be comfortable emphasizing what they're proud of. And then you can sort of cajole them a little bit and say, well, I think this, what do you think? Last 2 questions. And this taps into the thing we can't measure on a spreadsheet, their intuition. What does your gut say about this situation? And what you're looking for by asking that question is saying, look, you might have the data, you might have the information, you might have all the resources here, but deep down, there's something that your gut says about the situation. I really want to know what your gut says. Are we on the right direction? Are we making the right decisions? What's the right call? And you're trusting their wisdom, however experienced or not experienced they are. Whereas a manager might say, look, let's focus on the data. I don't care what you feel about it. This is how it's going to go. You're not empowering the individual. The last question in this set: what can you learn from this experience? So again, you're looking to what I learn, what someone else might learn might be different to this individual, as opposed to saying, the manager might say, right, okay, this has been done. I think what we learned from this situation is X, Y, Z. We shouldn't do this next time, we should do this. And they might, because they want to be agreeable and not go against you, yeah, right, we learned this. But really, what do you want to know from them? What did you learn from the situation? Because their insight, their perspective will give you an understanding of their thinking. And when you start to understand their thinking, you become a better leader because you can relate to them. I hope those questions more. There'll be more videos in the future about different types of questions that leaders can ask, that managers may not ask, to make you a better, more empowered, more inspirational leader. Hope that helps.